Okay guys, here we go. 19.1, Miss Salinas is in charge of Sales Opportunity Company. Miss Salinas knows that a particular task will take 8 hours to complete, and she has budgeted $120 for this task. The supervisor is paid $20 per hour. Her assistant is paid $12 per hour. The supervisor will start the task, and the assistant will take over and complete the task. Miss Salinas needs to figure out how long each person should work so that the company's costs meet her budget and time estimate. All right, let's go through this. Question number 1, what are you trying to find? It is highlighted. You are trying to find the number of hours each person worked. Okay. Okay, number 2, what is the pertinent information? So what is important for solving this system of equations? So important fact number 1 is that the task will take 8 hours. I'm just gonna go through the highlighted information. Important number 2, fact, $120 is the budget. Important fact number 3, the supervisor makes $30 an hour. Important fact number 4, the assistant makes $12 per hour. And the important fact number 5 is that the supervisor will start the task and the assistant will finish. So I'm just gonna put C above. Okay. Number 3, what facts are given in the description that you don't need to solve the problem? So any kind of fluff, anything that's not highlighted. Mrs. Salinas' name, the name of the company, things like that that just don't give us any information as to how to solve. Okay, anything that is not highlighted. All right, in your own words, write the 2 conditions that must be met to solve this problem. Well, your conditions are your first 2 facts. So 8-hour task, and it must be completed in less than $120 for wages. Okay, all right. We are going to use this workspace to answer the question. So we know that the amount of hours worked has to equal 8 hours. So I'm just gonna give some combinations for supervisor hours and assistant hours. Okay, so there's several different combinations. If the supervisor works 1 hour, the assistant works 7. If the supervisor works 2, assistant works 6. We have 3 and 5, 4 and 4, 5 and 3, 6 and 2, 7 and 1. So all of the combinations that total 8 hours. So hours total 8. That's what this list is. Okay, so that's one of our restraints. The other restraint we have is that we're looking for the wages that cost $120. So we're gonna go through. We know that the supervisor makes $20 an hour. So I'm gonna take $20 times the number of hours the supervisor works. Then I'm gonna add to it $12 times the hours that the assistant works. So calculating that, I get $104. And I'm just gonna go through these combinations until I hit the one that equals $120, because that's what I'm looking for. So 20 times 2 plus 12 times 6, and that gives me $112. And then 20 times 3 plus 12 times 5, and that gives me $120. So I can stop right there because that's what I'm looking for. I don't have to go any further in my list. I'm looking for total wages of $120. and that's where it is. Okay, happens when the supervisor works 3 hours and the assistant works 5. Right, moving on. We are now going to write equations. So Miss Salinas realized that she could write equations and make her life a little bit easier. So she decides that she's going to use S to represent the number of hours the supervisor works, and she's going to use A to represent the number of hours the assistant works. And then we're just going to write equations based off of that. So write an equation to show a relationship between the variables S and A and the total hours worked. Okay, so we know if we take the supervisor hours and we add the assistant hours, that has to equal 8 hours. That's our first equation. And you can also see where we did that in our little workspace on the first page. All of the combinations that total 8 hours. Okay, number 7. Now we're going to use S and A to write an equation about cost. So again, I'm going to refer back to what we did on the front where we talked about wages. We took 20 times the supervisor hours and added 12 times the assistant hours. We're just going to replace the variables now. So 20S plus 12A. And that has to equal $120. Okay. Together, these form a system of equations. So a system of equations, here's your vocab. The word system is used to describe a set of 2 or more equations with 2 or more variables. In our case, it's just going to be 2 variables. We won't see anything bigger. Okay. So we're going to talk about our solution. We found the solution on the front page. And it was 3 hours for the supervisor and 5 hours for the assistant. So in your own words, supervisor works 3 hours and assistant works 5 hours. Oops, got a little messy there, that's okay. Okay, next you're being asked to write it as an ordered pair, S comma A. Well, supervisor was 3, assistant was 5. So there is your ordered pair. We have this lovely little table right here, or a little box to work in. And we're just going to use both of our equations to check our work and make sure that 3, 5 works in both of our equations. Okay, so let's take a look. If I plug 3 in for S and 5 in for A, 3 plus 5, I'm going to evaluate that, and I get 8. 8 is equal to 8. That is a true statement. So our point works in that equation. Now I'm going to check equation 2 by doing the same thing, plugging 3 in for S and 5 in for A. 20 times 3 is 60. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 and 60 is 120, which is what we were hoping to get. So our ordered pair also works in equation 2. So what can we say about what we noticed? Well, 3, 5 works in both equations. Okay. In general, what is a solution to a system of equations in 2 variables? So in general, it's a point that works in both equations. All right, now let's give it an official definition. So we're gonna go vocab here. So a solution to a system of equations is the ordered pair x comma y that makes each equation true. And then how can we check to see? Well, exactly what we did up here in number 9. We are going to, number 1, substitute x and y. Into both equations. Then we're going to evaluate, which is another word for calculate. And number 3, we're checking for a true statement in both equations. And that is your definition.